Thank you so much for considering signing this letter of thanks to Apple. We're really excited that you're considering this with us, and we think it's really important to get a large asset base together to voice to Apple that we really appreciate this first mover risk that they're taking on a truly exceptionally ethical supply chain coming out of the DRC. A little bit of backstory on this: a group of investors in late 2024 got together and pulled $100,000 to do research on the tantalum supply chain coming out of the DRC. We'd read Cobalt Red. We understood the stories of what's happening in the cobalt and tantalum industry. And one of our portfolio companies at Eagle has a breakthrough ability to map from the dirt up to the consumer what is happening in our supply chains and who's actually exposed to it. So we came to this portfolio company, we gathered and passed the hat, and we invested $100,000 in trying to answer that question. And the evidence that came out through 10K filings and the ability to do on the ground AI enabled research was that we had a direct connection between 105 companies in the S&P 500 and the tantalum industry that is rife with these risks of human rights violations. And we were just kind of blown away by how much of the S&P 500 was exposed to this. And a group of us were looking at using our voice as investors to really try to shake things up towards solutions in the markets. And so we started to write letters to some of the leading companies that were exposed to this risk. But as we were doing it, and we were going to be inviting them into conversations with some really sophisticated groups that had been gathering for years to talk about how to solve issues in tantalum supply chains, we realized that there was a lot of talk, but a little bit of a rough feeling that maybe we were inviting them to talk about the issue because while this was kind of the most sophisticated thing we knew, there wasn't direct, here's a way to solve the problem. And we went back to our friends actually, who we'd been talking to several years back at Power Resources International, and they had been building a technology in the DRC to solve exactly this problem. And we were blown away how far they had made it in the intervening time, where for several years they've been testing, essentially riding their motorcycles around the DRC and in this Kigali region, doing inspections on the tantalum mines, where they're able to, using blockchain-enabled technology, both do inspections and provide provenance every single day for what's been produced in that mine, and then all the way up to in Rwanda, that's just across the border, they have the only refinery in Africa for tantalum. And all the way from the dirt up through the refinery had complete chain of custody to show that there actually isn't child labor in this supply chain of tantalum, and that they have Apple at the table as the first buyer for this step change improvement in ethical sourcing of tantalum coming out of the DRC. And we asked them, hey, would it make a difference if a significant base of investors came together and said thank you to Apple? And that really significantly opened up some great doors because there really is a little bit of a wrestle for the narrative for who can we trust between these transparency organizations. Some of them are funded by less altruistically motivated folks. We're big fans of the folks at Responsible Mineral Alliance, who have certified this supply chain multiple years in a row, and really a chance to lend our voice to some of the folks that are doing it the best. And this letter has a real ability, or a real chance, I should say, for some of the best, including Responsible Minerals Alliance and Power Resources International, to really catch a little bit of positive. Enough naming and shaming has happened. We would like to call this naming and faming for leaning in and doing the hard and beautiful thing in tantalum sourcing. So we do invite you to sign with us this letter of thanks. This letter doesn't say we endorse everything that Apple does. This letter says thank you for taking a risk on this specific action where Apple is meaningfully taking first mover risk to see this truly step change improvement in ethical sourcing. So please join us, and please share with friends who you think would enjoy saying thank you to Apple as well, and use your voice to make a difference for children in the DRC. Thank you.